So when it comes to planning a wedding, nothing is more important than making sure you're doing things by the book. We're talking about wedding etiquette, the right way and the wrong way of doing things. Coming from someone who's planning a wedding, things can get very confusing. Karen Thomas has been teaching etiquette for the past 12 years and is a certified etiquette coach. She joins us here today on Connecticut Style. So Karen, I'm knee deep in this wedding planning, and there's a lot to consider, right and wrong ways of doing things.
Absolutely.
I think first we should start with invitations.
Okay.
The importance of the RSVP.
RSVP is highly important due to the cost of what people are expending on weddings these days. This is something that needs to be done. As soon as you get an invitation, you should respond immediately. You put it aside, you say, you know what, I'm going to look at it the next day. You tend to forget, and then it gets pushed aside. The minute that I receive an invitation, I call or I RSVP if it's a mailed one, and you do it right away, and that helps right off the bat.
And you don't want a bride calling you when she has plenty of other things to do, right?
That is a huge faux pas.
It's annoying. All right, let's move on to guest attire. What's appropriate and what's not?
Okay, well, there's various different types. If you're having a black tie wedding, then naturally the men should be wearing full tuxedos. Okay, if it's white tie, same thing, tails, coats, you know, for the men. Women should steer away from white or a cream for a daytime wedding. And this is something that people, they feel anything goes. Same thing, black should be worn for evening. So if your wedding is in the afternoon, 5 p.m. or so, they can go with black. But again, you have to be careful. And a lot of people don't go by that anymore, but that still is the norm, to check with like the time frame of the wedding. During the day, you don't want to wear a black dress.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Also, if it's on a specific holiday or the time of the year plays into that, right?
Absolutely.
Don't ever wear white, right?
Ever. You don't want to
show the biggest faux pas ever.
Exactly. You don't want to show up the bride, and not that you would, but I mean, it's just, it actually is a little bit of a diss to the bride.
All right, let's talk about toasting etiquette, because as my mother says, it's a toast, not a roast.
I am so glad that you made that comment, because this is so true. It should be less personal and more wishing well for the couple, rather than getting into a personal story or something where they go on and on, where the audience doesn't know what you're talking about.
Cares.
Exactly.
I have actually stopped a best man speech before
because
it was so appalling. I think men forget about that. No one needs to know about stories. Save it for the bachelor party.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
All right, attendant etiquette. We're talking about rules, maid of honor, best man, that type of thing.
Some brides do become bridezillas, but you know what? The attendant, the maid of honor or matron of honor, is there to do a lot of the work. So you should be very, very close with that person in conjunction with what your wishes are, being the bride. And it's a lot of work. When you accept that honor, you should know there's a lot of work that goes with it.
You really have to think long and hard.
Absolutely, and expense is one of the huge things about it. There's a huge expense with the dresses, perhaps travel, gifts, all of those things, putting on a shower. Those are attendant's duties.
It's true. So I actually have decided just to have my sister, my future sister-in-law, because it's a burden sometimes, right?
It can be a financial burden, and then people get in over their head, and then you're stuck.
You don't want your wedding to be annoying, right?
No,
to anybody.
absolutely.
So think long and hard before that happens. All right, let's talk about gift etiquette.
Okay.
Is it true that you have a year after the wedding date to send a gift?
You do have up to a year to send a gift. I would suggest that you do it within the first month.
Sure.
That's more acceptable. And then the same thing with thank you notes on your end. When you're sending thank you notes out, you want to make sure that you get them out in a timely manner. Now, of course, you'll go on a honeymoon or some sort of a trip afterwards, so I would suggest up to 6 months. You do have a year. Etiquette states a year, but you know what? I would prefer that you get them out within the first 3 to 6 months, and it makes the people feel more that you're being more gracious with them, rather than just like forgetting it, and then in the 10th month they got to.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I said a toaster.
Let's talk about the registry. Should you pick something off the registry? Obviously, the bride and groom are interested in those gifts.
I think the safest thing to do, especially if you don't know the couple as well, absolutely go with the registry, because it's something that they want, something that they need, rather than just something like a statue or something that maybe they don't really want and might get returned. A lot of people are funny like that. I always suggest to either go with a gift card, something off the registry, or cash.
Would you do cash, check, or it makes no difference?
It doesn't really make a difference. I prefer that when I go to a wedding, I do cash. And remember that when you're giving a gift for a wedding, it should cover at least the plate cost and then some. Okay, so in other words, if it's at a very, very fancy place and you think that the plate is like, $100 per person, it should be over that. And that's per person.
That's great advice. So let's talk about the glassware and the utensils we have on the table.
Well, you know, it's funny. A lot of people don't know how to use a glass. We have a red wine glass. What you need to do is you need to hold it like this. This red wine is served at a warmer temperature, okay? So if you're having red wine with the dinner that evening, you want to hold it here, and the warmth of your hand keeps it the right temperature of the wine. With your white wine glass, it's always a little smaller. You hold it by the stem, and the same thing with a champagne flute. That's how you want to hold it. And then, of course, the water goblet you can hold from the bottom. But these are things, especially as the bride, you want to look good when you're doing that. And then utensils. Everyone does this wrong, so I always like to go over the utensils. When you're holding your utensils, you want to make sure that the back of your finger is on the backbone of each one, and you're cutting and eating like that. And then when you're done, you place them never back on the table. You want to make sure that you place them on the side of the plate, resting on the plate, so it doesn't touch the tablecloth.
Very good. That's very helpful. What about the napkin? If you get up to go to the bathroom.
It goes on the chair, and it can go either on the back of the chair or on the seat of the chair, either or.
I love that. These are great tips. I hope Leroy and Benny took close notes on that.
Yes.
So fantastic. Where can we find more information about you?
You can reach me at www.ctetiquette.com.
Pretty easy. Great tips, Karen. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. More Connecticut Style after the break. We'll be right back.